There you go.
All right. Here we are, January 10th. Here. This is great. Did folks get a chance to look at the minutes from December 13?
Yeah.
Did anybody have-
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from December 13th.
Excellent. All in favor? Or we need a second? Who wants to second?
A second.
A second. All in favor? All right. Now, this brings us to, well, public comment is next, but I think we're going to skip over that really briefly because we no longer have second, is that what they're? Clerk, thank you. That was the right word. We no longer have a clerk, unfortunately, for our board, so we will need somebody to take minutes. Are you
I'm taking minutes for
tonight?
For the time being.
For the time
until
being,
we
okay.
find a replacement.
Okay, perfect. Because I know before when we didn't have a clerk, one of us had to do it, and that was a little dicey. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is public speak time. This is not, if you're here on a matter that's on the agenda, you'll have a chance to speak when we get to that matter that's on the agenda. But this is just, you know, I think all the boards do it.
Yeah.
But usually
Yeah.
not. All right, moving on to administrative items. So it's the new year, so we have to elect a chair and vice chair. I'm happy to be the chair again. If that's
So I move that Maggie be re-elected chair for the coming year.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Hey, Tracy.
And then we also need a vice chair. John was our vice chair last year. I don't know whether he's going to stand in or Fran, either of you guys can thumb wrestle.
John, I make a motion that John
Oh,
be...
you make- okay,
No, I
perfect.
mean, he's going
I'll second.
Oh.
And should we vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
We're all there. Okay.
Who seconded that?
Okay. So I don't know whether everybody got a chance to see, but Ben sent around a couple things of the administrative variety. He sent around instructions that folks get when they appear before us. Both, I think, what they currently get, which is the one that's got the last updated July 10, 2012 in the bottom right-hand corner. And then he also sent around, I assume, like a proposed update.
If we want to table it till after we
Yeah, we can do that. It might be useful to know whether people had a chance to look at it before tonight, or...
I didn't get a chance. I
No.
have a
Okay.
problem.
I think maybe what we should maybe do is just take it up, because I haven't gotten a chance to really digest it yet either. So maybe we'll just take it up next month, but people can maybe look at it. And then the other thing that we had talked about was having a set of rules, and I assume so, and we could model our rules after the planning board rules. So I think what I would like to do is I'll maybe take a crack at adjusting these for us and then send that around, and then we can discuss this and these in February.
Plan was like a plan.
And if anybody else wants to, you know, email around a suggestion for, you know, changes to either of them, you can email it to me and I'll incorporate it into a new doc, which then I can send around. So.
Okay.
All right, and that brings us to Mr. and Mrs. Legrand.
That's us.
So we'll open the public hearing on 19 River Street, Easthampton. So, this is a variance. I don't know if you want to summarize it.
Sure, you want to?
Did I go for it?
Basically, as you can see in the picture, the plot, the door to the house basically opens right onto the street.
Yeah.
So if you were to talk about setback, I mean, if the door was open, there'd basically zero setback. So what we're proposing to do is to move the door around to the side. And because of the slope of the land, we would need to put a landing and just some steps down to grade.
Right. And we got comments from... we got a comment from the health agent just bringing to our attention that you also have to be repairing the septic system.
Yep, that's correct.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted to know, like, whether your changes to the septic, because you also mentioned that you're moving things in order to put in a shower bathtub?
Sure, that's
And I-
Secondary.
the septic is going to happen later on. I'm working with a couple of designers now to work on a design for that.
Okay.
So it's going to be a separate project. There's an existing cesspool system there now that is functional. And as part of a condition of the closing, I have a 2-year enforceable agreement
Okay.
with the Board of Health
Okay, so
to
you
upgrade
just
the
purchased
septic.
the-
Yep.
Yeah.
The property, okay. Does anybody
We
have?
got other comments as well
Oh.
from here, Conservation Commission and the Planning Board.
I have the planning board as being no comment,
Right, okay. The Planning Board had no comment. And
but I didn't. Did the
Just
other
a-
one do?
it's just that one.
So the Conservation Commission wants us to note, and I also want to make sure you know this, that apparently any work done to the exterior of the house requires permitting from the Conservation Commission, so in addition to us, we'll have to go before them.
Sure, I actually spoke with her last week.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. That was a formal reading.
Okay. Now, is anybody here on their application? No.
What do you mean on their application?
Application.
Like wanting to speak, like, isn't a butter or wanting to speak either
I'm
for
a
or
butter.
against?
You don't plan
Can you state your name and address?
on, my name's Ken Peppin, I live on East Street in Easthampton, I farm next to your property.
Oh, sure.
You don't plan on expanding the footprint of the house or anything, do you?
Not the structure, the only thing that would be the landing outside, and then, just steps
Yeah,
down to
because the
grade.
footprint, as far as I know, you can't really do that. with a
No.
Federal permit. You can go up higher, but you can't go wider or bigger or anything like that.
Sure.
Septic system has to be a system that's enclosed, I understand also.
Tight tank.
Well, that's up to the engineer to determine what we need, but based upon where it's located and,
It's probably gonna
wetlands
have to be a contained
constraints,
closed system.
it
yeah.
most likely will be a tight
Yeah,
tank.
yeah, because it's within 500 feet of the river and the wetland, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, that's about all I wanted to know. I thought maybe you were going wider or something, and, because then you
Would
have
you
to
like to
file
see it?
for
Do you wanna see the
compulsory
picture?
storage,
I'll
and
take it down to
it gets real big and lengthy,
Sure.
you know.
No.
A picture is often worth 1,000 words.
There's
so-
a picture. Okay, that's the existing house.
I can figure it out.
And
been
then
around a long time.
the door is there, and
Yeah,
then
that's
moving it to the
fine.
side
Yeah,
and putting
yeah,
a
yeah.
landing, like a deck.
Okay. Okay. I just didn't know what it was about. I got this thing in the mail, and my wife
Sure.
says, you better go down and check.
If your wife told you.
But that's why we have.
I
Yeah, I'm more than happy to explain details after. if you-
Well, I
whatever you-
understand. I just,
Whatever you have questions about.
I mean, to me, this seems sort of like a no-brainer, because it's going to improve safety, and it's not really enlarging the structure, and this is sort of exactly what the variance process is for, so.
you know, you've done it up.
All right. 13. Actually, we could use, we can use the new. For our findings. All right, so, as we all know now, for variances, we have to make the 4 findings. Right. So our 4 findings that we have to make are circumstances relating to the, essentially, shorthand is like the.
The lot is much smaller than other lots in the
Narrower.
area. They're much.
What? Oh,
we
oh
have,
yeah, that's right, it is teed up. That's right, yeah, no, you're right. That's what that's not what I have. Oh, that's even better. Perfect. Thank
You
you.
want other copies to see as well?
Sure.
Do you want to give?
Forward.
I haven't.
I know. No, the first one I opened was this one, I was like, this looks really great, and then I opened the next one, I was like, we really need the new ones. All right, so the applicant has proposed what we have in front of us, so let's all just take a second.
I would add to number 3 that the addition does not impact the neighbors.
Right, there's no side setback issues.
And there again, this comes back to that age-old, it's a pre-existing non-conforming structure. It's not changing the non-conformity. It's, to an extent,
Right.
it's simply
It's improving.
improving.
Well, that's for the... Isn't that the concern for special permits, but if we get into variances, we don't need to worry about, or am I wrong on that? The increasing the...
The increasing the non-conformity.
I mean, by granting a variance, you're
Right.
increasing the non-conformity.
That's what, yeah, because
So-
if we weren't increasing the nonconformity, we could do a special permit, but because we are in
Right, and
fact...
they need the special permit
Right.
part of it as well.
Yeah, you have to go in front of the
So,
federal government.
but first you have to do the variance
Right.
for the, just the way that the ordinance is written.
Oh, right, okay. Make all the right findings. This is different from the normal special permits that we do for pre-existing because we have to vary, because we essentially are.
Because the entire building
Yeah,
sits in the
that's-
front setback,
Yeah, you
the
can't-
width is narrower than, the width of the lot
Is
is
narrower
narrower
than the
than
setback.
the setback.
Right.
So,
No, because I'm just thinking like normally when we do these, we do, if possible, and I feel like most of the ones we've had recently, we say that it's not, have been ones where they're not changing the footprint, and so we are able to do just a special permit saying that it's not intensifying or increasing the nonconformity, but here we have to do it because it says if the special permit is issued for the nonconforming extension, alteration, or change, the applicant will not require a variance for the proposed extension, alteration, or change, but we have to do the variance.
well, I mean, I guess it depends on if the board sees what they're doing as.
Well, and I look at it as, yes, technically they're doing something outside, so thereby the variance is required because they are building within the...
Right, they're adding...
Because of the deck.
Right, they're essentially adding
porch,
footprint within
they're
the...
quote-unquote adding,
Right,
which is thereby increasing the non-conformity.
right.
But the front of, they're not showing the front of the deck going closer to the front setback than they're already violating.
Yeah, but I
So
think that's how
standard.
we've...
And that's how we've always viewed it, is
Right.
that as long as it doesn't increase
It's not
the
getting
existing
closer.
nonconformity,
Right.
it's pretty much a special permit. If they wanted to go out 2 feet more and be more intrusive,
I feel like this has creeped from like second floors don't increase the nonconformity to
right,
nothing that's got the same front line increases the nonconformity. I don't know whether that's taking it too far. But
because
we did do that, didn't we, on the other one on East Street?
Right.
With the, that's right, we did. Okay.
On Hendrick Street.
on Hendrick
Oh,
Street,
yeah.
on East Street, we've done it on a few different streets.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we've simply issued
Right.
a special.
Where they had the porch and they wanted to enclose the porch. But that wasn't really increasing the footprint. Have we done ones where they actually increased the footprint within the...
Sure, the house on Hendrick Street.
But they weren't increasing the footprint in the front, were they? I thought
No, but it was the side yard setback that they were feet off the, they were
still.
Oh, that's right, that's right,
They were in
that's
the side
right.
yard setback.
They were in
but
the side yard setback and they were maintaining the line. That's
The
right.
line.
That's right, I remember that one now.
Same thing with the house further down the street on East Street, or on Hendrick Street. It was in here in November. October, November. Alexander?
Is that was the one that is that the one that I
Is that the
wasn't
one you're
actually
thinking
there
of?
for? No, I think that was that the one that was the first one of the night that I got here later.
Yeah, you weren't here. You weren't here.
Like, I don't know. Okay. So would you, so, so do we still need to do the variance?
I don't think we need the variance.
I think we can just do a special permit.
And, you know.
And it's not increasing the nonconformity because it's not bringing it any closer to the road, because you couldn't possibly go any closer to the road. And we have no side setback issues, so there's no nonconformity there.
Right. You know, if they were in the corner of the lot and they needed to go into the side yard setback, then
Right,
we
that
need a
would be-
variance.
right.
But because the front yard is the front yard, and you're not going any
Right.
further in the front yard, you're not increasing the variance. So it's not-
I'm having a hard time articulating what it is that I think is like slightly different about this versus the other ones, but I feel like there's a slight difference that I can't quite articulate. Like, you know, that the other ones, it's like the other one on East Street was like this, and there was something here, and they weren't closing it, so they weren't really bringing it closer to the street. Or like they weren't even, like if this is a footprint, they weren't really expanding outside of it. And then the other one, you know, it was like the house was like shaped like this, and they were bumping this out.
Right.
But it still didn't feel like, you know, like if you drew a line of where the house was, and you drew a line where the house was, it didn't go past those lines, whereas this is a little different, because if you drew a line, it is outside sort of the current boundaries of the house.
So if you look at it, they are technically building inside the front yard setback. They're building within that front yard setback area.
Right. I mean, I think we're gonna certainly grant them whatever we need to so that they can build this. I'm just hesitant about lumping this in with the same treatment that we've done before, because I'm thinking, you know, could there be like the next application, we wouldn't be able to distinguish what they're trying to do from this, but when we look at it, we know, that's not what we meant, or like that's not what we had in mind, that this, you know, this is fine because of the fact that, like, where else would they put, you know, like this particular lot, this particular structure, the safety issues involved, we all know that it makes sense to move the door around, and this is what's necessary given the topography. And so I just wonder, maybe the better way to do this is via a variance. But if we do the variance, do we still have to do the special permit, or can we just do a variance?
They want to do an addition, so they need a special permit.
Oh, right, I see. Okay, so what, but if we do the variance, won't they be conforming?
No, we'll have just given them an exception to the rules.
Right, but isn't that like, why do they need 2 exceptions?
That's just the way the ordinance is written.
Which part? I mean, because I'm not reading it that way.
If you look at the special pre-existing non-conforming,
Yeah,
if ZBA,
this part. Because I see that you can do a special permit without a variance, but I'm just, may not be standard altered or seems.
Yeah. Which is.
I just think, because like if we do the variance, then it's no longer non-conforming, right?
And by doing so.
Like it's just that the special permit standard is a lot easier to meet than the variance standard. But here, I think they really could meet the variance standard.
I think they do meet the variance standard.
Right, and I almost feel like the variance is the better tool because this isn't really, you know, if this lot was flat, and they didn't need to do this, I don't know that we would say yes. I feel like the reason that we are so sure that we want to say yes is because the need is so obviously there, and so to me that pushes it into variance as opposed to special permit. And I'm just hesitant to expand what we've already said regarding special permits out to actually increasing sort of the building square, if you will.
The footprint.
Yeah, I mean, footprint isn't quite the right, because as we point out, we've done footprint before, but it's
Building
like...
envelope.
Okay, yeah.
There you go, that's a
There we
great
go.
word.
Yeah. I don't know whether anybody else is feeling this.
I think this is something that if there's a question, then the planning board wrote these rules. And maybe after tonight, it might be appropriate to ask the planning board to clarify their rules.
As, like, whether we need to do both.
Right.
Okay. And what we can, maybe what we can do is we can,
Grant both.
Can we-
If you look at Part C of it, if it's,
Says if you give them a special permit, they don't need a variance.
right, or if it's more non-conforming, then it requires a variance. So really the
where,
whole thing.
where,
Those not
It's-
non-conforming.
I don't see that. Why am I not reading it the way that you're
Do
reading
you have
it?
the updated version of this?
That might be my problem. I thought I had put it in, but maybe I just,
It should be,
maybe I,
if you can read that. Is yours the same? No.
you're right, no, I don't have the, why
Okay.
didn't I update it? Is yours?
No, I have the
You
same
have
one
it.
you do. No, I don't have that one.
Okay. I sent, you know, when I sent it out
I thought
a few weeks ago with the
oh, maybe,
previous it was the previous application,
I thought you would hand,
and I did hand it out too.
yeah, and I thought I put it in here, but no, I'm not finding it. Okay, I thought I put it in, but clearly I didn't. So I'll flag that. So let me see your version.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna just read. So C, under the new version, is if the ZBA finds that any proposed change would create any new nonconformities, a variance will be required for such changes. Okay, so that's just changing, I see. And then they got rid of D.
Right.
Okay.
So they
So they've sort of already addressed what the issue was.
Right.
Okay.
They tried to clarify the whole pre-existing non-conforming.
Okay. Just like. Perfect. So we don't even need to worry about that. So we'll do the variance and special permit, but maybe we should clarify whether. Well, okay, wait. Okay, the way that I read it is if it's not intensifying, special permit, otherwise a variance, but not both.
So I would not consider this an intensification.
See, I would see this as an intensification because they're changing the building envelope, no?
No.
In the past, like, this is the setbacks, we've granted an addition that looks like this.
But have we done that even
Yes, we
where
have.
there wasn't stuff on the other side and there
Yep.
wasn't?
That was the one in November on Hendrick Street.
We did it on, we've
But I
done
mean,
it
the
on Cottage
ZBA
Street.
doesn't
we've done
have
it
to-
on
Oh, that
Cottage Street.
was the one that okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done it
All right.
a couple times. on
You know what? If there is consensus, I'm not going to stand in the way of the consensus. So, so we're going to say, other than I have a feeling that this clarification was almost explicitly to get us to stop doing this.
It was really changed to allow the building inspector to just approve.
Right,
when the addition is entirely not
right,
changing it.
right. It
Right,
does
if
not
the
do-
addition was on the back of the house.
Right,
or,
then
you know,
Joe would have done it and it
permit
wouldn't
was
be here.
permitted, you know, within the
Right.
permitted area, it wouldn't have had to come here.
Right.
But because it's still within
All right,
the front yard setback,
Okay.
it needs to come to us, but we don't need to issue a variance, we can issue a special permit.
I'm good with the special permit in this case. So, so for special permit, we don't have to make
You have to make findings.
findings. I mean, we should make findings, but we don't need to make the same level of findings. All right. So I move that we issue, I move that we issue a special permit based on findings that the location of the house on the lot and the safety issues created by the proximity of the current door to the road and the fact that this doesn't impact any other setbacks and that there's no neighbor opposition. For all those reasons, we should grant a special permit to permit the construction of a landing to the left of the house and relocation of the door.
I'll second.
Should we let you catch up before we vote?
Like that? John seconded? So I have that motion to approve special permit because the structure is not more non-conforming, safety, and no neighborhood opposition.
Yep.
Great.
All right, all in favor? Aye. No, we should, not all of us get to vote. Yeah.
Because you're the alternate, yeah.
But thank you for being
Still
here.
vote, but I won't record it.
All right,
Make sure you can record me voting in the minutes.
so we'll get a decision out, and then there's a 20-day appeal period from the date when we file the decision with the clerk. It usually takes, because we meet on Thursday, it usually takes like until the beginning of the week after we meet often to get our decision in, but once it's in filed with the clerk, it'll be a 20-day appeal period, and then the building inspector will be able to issue you a permit.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry for the confusion.
Oh, you know. It's very different. Well, it's, you know, with the new, this is the first time we've like done this with the new language, I think. Or was the one in November with the new language? But it wasn't. It's the first time for me.
But the confusion with the one was that I thought that Joe was, by changing the zoning ordinance, by the change in the zoning ordinance, that Joe would have been permitted
To do that one.
to do that.
Yeah, no.
But I was corrected that if it was an addition on the back of the house,
Right.
that was within the side yard setback, front
Right.
yard and everything like that, Joe could have
Right.
rubber stamped it, but because it was still inside of the non-conformed area, they thereby needed to.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like there's like two different definitions of intensification floating around, but so maybe we need to come up with some other language.
And we need to figure out what that means.
Because I think, I mean, we can have intensification. I mean, I think like like the way that we've been going about things, like our working definition of intensification is if it goes further into the setback than the current structure does.
Right.
Not just enlarging the area that's in the setback, whereas what Joe can do is he can approve something as long as the actual building is not happening within a setback.
Correct.
So, I think that's, you know, like there's A, there's B, and then there's C, which would be, you know, if they wanted to, if it was you know, close enough to the road that it was within the setback, but not so close that it didn't make sense to build it onto the front of the house, and they wanted to build it onto the front of the house.
Right.
So I think that makes sense. I think that's logical and defensible, so I think we can keep going with that. All right. So moving on, we've got Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity here seeking a comprehensive permit. And do we have, I know you had sent around a couple comments. Do we have everything that I can?
Yeah, I sent out this morning, actually 3 comments from the Housing Partnership, the Planning Board, and the Board of Health.
Housing Partnership, Board of Health, and Planning Board, right. So Planning Board had no comment. Board of Health had no comment with respect to this project. And the Housing Partnership is a big fan. All right, and do you want to?
Want me to present? I'm MJ Adams. I'm the...
Oh, actually, wait, I'm sorry. Before I have you get started, are we, obviously this is not at this isn't exactly what we did before, but should I be, like, when did this get filed? Are we now opening?
We are now opening
the actual
the
40B hearing.
Right.
Should I maybe go over that really quick?
The application was filed on December 20th.
How many days do we have to?
We have 30 days,
so we're almost
so we're,
okay.
Like, we have to open the hearing tonight.
Okay, so I want to just, so let me, I should have printed out my one that I had from Parsons. Okay. No, I just had a really nice one from Parsons that I should have printed out, but I didn't. All right, so I think we should, so we'll formally open the hearing. So I assume the rest of you are here on the Habitat for Humanity. So with the comprehensive permit, I don't know whether any of you followed, we recently issued a comprehensive permit with respect to the Parsons Street project. I don't know whether I know, not so far away in town, so I don't know whether any of you followed that, but in that case, it was obviously a much larger development, and there was more that was being requested of us with respect to waivers of the zoning in order to make that project happen. And we had, under state statute, we had 6 months to hold hearings, a series of hearings, and to gather information. And then we had another, I guess it was, 30 days after we closed the hearing to issue our decision. Those timelines still apply for this. It's, this is going to be it's the same kind of process. I don't think any of us anticipate needing the full 6 months. Heaven help us if we do. But tonight what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing that we did on the first night of Parsons Street, which is we're going to be formally opening that hearing that can go up to 6 months and can't go any longer than 6 months. If we need to, we would schedule additional hearings on this matter within that time period. And then we would issue like a more formal decision, or not more formal, but probably it'll be a slightly different type of decision than what we would normally issue just, in a hearing of this kind. What we probably do is we, have a draft that we would review, and then we would approve something in writing as opposed to doing it orally and then writing it up after the fact. So I don't know whether anybody here has any questions just sort of about the process, not the project, before we get started. No. All right, so I move that we open the 40B hearing for the Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity project to be located at 248 and 230 East Street, Easthampton.
I'll second.
All right.
Who was that? You got the second?
Whether it's Tony or I, it was, we need to give it to Fran.
All right.
And the other thing that I should note is that with this hearing process, we do need to have those of us who are part of the board at this time that the hearing opens. If we have subsequent hearings, we have to be present, or I think you can miss one and make it up by video. And then we will all need to be there to vote as well. and the voting is a little bit different on the comprehensive permits than it is on our regular decisions. But we have so many members now, it shouldn't be a problem. So, all right.
And the attendance to meetings is equally as important, even though I know the last time it was the issue because there was only 4 of us.
I think it's still, isn't it still, you have, because in order to be vote, I mean, I guess somebody could drop out partway through because we have enough that we
The
can
reason
still
why
vote.
we have an alternate is for these particular types of hearings. So
Oh.
basically, because Kate's here watching this whole
So she can
proceedings-
she could step in at the end if we need her to.
Right.
But I'm not going to vote on this one.
Unless somebody's not here at the end. But if you're here all through, you could vote at the end.
But this particular one, I'm not going to vote on.
Oh, because it's,
Because you have
As
a
a
conflict.
conflict, yeah.
Yes,
okay, okay, well,
Or potential. or-
Potential conflict.
okay, well, all right, so we've got 5, we really only need 4, we're good. And with that, do you want to lead off?
I'm MJ Adams, I'm representing Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity. I was until last Sunday the executive director. I'd like to introduce Aaron Walker, who's the new interim executive director, and I'm working with Habitat in this transitional phase, but Aaron will be your primary contact as we move forward here. The other folks I'd like to introduce are Carolyn Reynolds, who's been our point volunteer on this project, helping us move things along, and also on the staff is Jean Savarese, who's our research development coordinator. We're here tonight to ask permission to do exactly what the town of Easthampton would like us to do.
Yeah, if only it always went that way.
When we responded to the town of Easthampton's request for proposal about affordable home ownership on the site, the town had asked that a duplex be constructed on the site, one of the units being handicap accessible, and that the units be built such that they could be counted towards the town's 10%, the subsidized housing inventory. We proposed and were invited in to be the developer of the site, with the one caveat that if you build a duplex on a piece of land, on one parcel, you need to turn it into a condominium in order to achieve home ownership for both families. Habitat has moved away from that, and we like to do what we call zero lot line homes, which are building a duplex, but splitting it so that there's 2 fee simple lots. The houses are adjoined at a party wall. So it looks like a duplex but from the street, but in terms of legal ownership, it's 2 single-family homes. So that's the nature of our request.
Right.
It's simply to be allowed permission to divide the lot more or less evenly, depending on how the house lays on the land and the size of each unit, such that each homeowner has fee simple ownership of their home, and there is no condominium association created.
So basically, you're only asking for a waiver of
Side setbacks. Side setbacks, yes. And the game plan is to do a common driveway, because that does make things more affordable for us to build. But there's flexibility in terms of that. That would be our preference, but we're willing to talk with the town if you prefer 2 separate ones. We do have other homes that have common driveway easements where they work together to take care of a common driveway. But that's all we're asking, that instead of being 25, I think the side setbacks are 25 feet.
But
Whatever it was. That it would be 0,
Yeah.
and only on those only on that side that they're adjacent to each other.
Isn't the lot size also varied because each lot will be 20,000 instead
Right.
of the 35?
You're absolutely right.
It's
about
2.
that. It's 2 lots. You take that one lot, what is it, 120 feet of frontage, split it in half, and each has their own reduced frontage, but the real...
Right.
is that what we got last time? Did we get new stuff this time that I just somehow failed to print?
All I have is
You're right.
this.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's,
Is it typed up?
I just apparently failed to print it if it came. Did you say this?
I
Is
have
that
an
what you're
extra.
looking for?
Yeah.
Would you like to look at
I
it?
have an extra copy of the entire application.
I'm just wondering what I...
There's an extra copy.
Thanks.
So, and it has the full-size map on it.
I have to say, for the record, that I was on the Habitat for Humanity Board of Wallingford for Connecticut for a lot of years, and we had condominiums, and I agree that 0 lot line in ownership is much better.
Yeah,
Yeah, particularly when income is limited, having to decide lawn mowing and snow plowing, yeah. if each individual homeowner is responsible for their own property, it works much better.
It does. And there's that, we just realized, the history with our Habitat was that we did a number of duplex condominiums, and when I came on board as the executive director 11 years ago, that's one of the things we had to start to untangle, is the relationships and the dysfunctional relationships because of the condominium associations.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to build our first zero lot line home over in Northampton. It works really well, but it detaches the legal and financial relationships that neighbors have to have with each other, and they're very low-income families, so it's the first time they're stepping into home ownership, so we just want to make it as simple and straightforward as possible.
I have two other questions if no one has questions.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a very wooded site.
Yes.
How many trees are you going to leave?
We're going to go up, well, the first thing we need to do is to finalize the house design, and in order to do that, we have to select the families.
But you're not going to clear cut?
No, we're not going to clear cut.
Okay.
But we do have the opportunity to do photovoltaics on any Habitat home that has a good solar window, and PV Squared is offered to do photovoltaics on the house. So we'll want the solar south will be cleared as much as we can, because we do have to have a good solar window, but otherwise we really try to retain as much of the natural environment as we can.
And one last question. The kitchen and living room area are not adjacent. I would think that the bedroom areas would want to be next to the common wall for noise purposes, rather than the kitchen, living room adjacent to someone else's bedroom area, because there's more activity. Did you do that for aesthetic reasons?
I usually let architects do that floor plan stuff, because they think about those great big thoughts. And I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, it's not a zoning question. I was just surprised, because usually things like this, you put the quiet areas adjacent and the less quiet areas further apart, that's all.
I don't know why the architect chose to do what they did.
Because it looks nicer. But that's not a zoning board of appeal issue unless somebody
I do know by the nature that there's some special, that the walls in a zero lot line actually are thicker than the walls in a duplex, because there's fire rating separations.
So the soundproofing would
I would imagine there's stronger sound. I just know that when we were building the walls between the zero lot line in Northampton, the building committee commented significantly about how many layers of sheetrock there was between those two units.
That's just the fire protection.
Yeah. Our goal is that once you give us the okay on this, that we would move forward and start the family selection process. And in fact, we have a family selection meeting, a family information session meeting on February 9th at the Greenfield Savings Bank office in Northampton. We haven't set a deadline of when the applications will be due. That will depend on when you make your decision. But we have been doing outreach, the request for us to build a handicap unit. We've been doing outreach with organizations that serve handicapped families for the last year to help them be aware that this unit is coming up, and we would be very interested in finding a family that would need a handicap unit to go into that unit. And we're holding off on the design until we see the configuration of how many bedrooms each family would need, and what's the nature of the handicap accessibility that needs to be designed in.
Thank you. Are there neighbors who are here that would like to speak on this tonight? No. All right. This is so different. I think what I'm going to propose that we do is that I assume I should probably, are people, I think there's probably a consensus that we're going to go ahead and issue a comprehensive permit here. So I think what makes sense is for us to go ahead and write up, since the comprehensive permit needs to, I feel like it needs to be a little, like we have a template,
formal,
but it's like a little bit more involved than our normal permits, and it's, I feel like, even more important to get it exactly right. So what I was going to propose is that between this now and February, we write it up in draft form, and then we can approve it at the February meeting with any edits that we need to make, if that
Yeah, we can circulate it.
Yeah, and we can circulate, we'll send you a copy as well.
I'm hearing conceptually that you're supportive of the plan.
Yes.
So we
It
should-
helps that your neighbors are not unsupportive of the plan, that makes our job a lot easier. There's that.
I mean, it's a two-family house.
Right, I mean, it's also not,
It's,
right, the amount of traffic, there's no issues with that, there's, yeah, no, it's just a very different.
What about the surface of the driveway?
We typically would do TRG.
Okay.
Although, because if there's a handicapped accessibility issue, we might end up paving it. Oh.
I'm suggesting porous pavement, Jim.
yeah.
Okay.
Most of the housing partnership.
Okay.
To make
Oh, sure. I mean, anybody who's here that wants to speak can speak. If anybody else wants to speak. No, okay. All right, so we'll put together a draft decision, circulate it to you and us, and then we can, review it as necessary and hopefully get it approved in February. All right.
So, just to clarify, the only waivers that you're looking for are the zero lot line, the frontage, and square footage?
Lot area. Yes, lot area.
Okay.
Do we need to
Now,
also?
do we issue the subdivision, or?
There's no subdivision for this. They're not, these are, because it's right on the street, you're not doing a subdivision.
No,
Even though
there'll
you-
be an 81P plan when we do the final
Okay.
building lot, yes.
Okay.
The 81P is the approval not required subdivision
Right.
plan.
And it
that
won't
a
be required
surveyor
because
will-
we're gonna.
Yeah. Planning board will see that.
Right.
Right, okay, I wasn't sure how that worked.
Do we need to, we wouldn't need to do any waivers related to shared driveway, would we?
We should investigate that.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
I mean, the typical process we would go through, I think, would have the board would put conditions, and then you'd ask for waivers,
Right.
and then, but since it's very,
Well, it seems like it's just much more limited, limited
so
scope.
we can kind of shortcut through that, but
Yeah. I think we can shortcut through that. But we will, part of the reason we're gonna send you guys a draft is because we will want you guys to review it to make sure that we've given you what you need to build. You guys really we're the zoning board of appeals, we're volunteers, we're pretty decent at deciding what comes before us that's already sort of been teed up as like, this is what we need. We're not so good at saying, oh, and you're also gonna need X, Y, and Z. That's not exactly our job, and we don't spend quite enough of our lives doing this to really be good at that. So it's important that as the applicant, you make sure that we've given you what you need, or that you are drawing to our attention that we haven't given you what you need. With that said, I propose that we continue this hearing until February and call it a night. Anyone want to second that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.